Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honeybee Watch Symposia series. I'm Steve Rogenstein. I'm your host, behind-the-scenes producer, and Honeybee Watch's project director. And I'm joined by my colleague, Rodrigo Moro, who is Honeybee Watch's science director. As I said, we have more than 150 registrants, and hopefully more people will sign in as we progress. So today we're super excited because we're departing from our usual focus on honeybees. And instead, today our protagonist will be tree cavities. And we have three experts with us who work predominantly with them, and they will share their expertise and their anecdotes. So in the interest of time, because we have lots of material to cover, I'm just going to give a very brief introduction to Honeybee Watch. We are an international coalition tasked with better understanding how and why free-living honeybees survive via natural selection with little to no human intervention. We've been around for about 4 years, and in that time, our research partners and participating citizen scientists have identified more than 2,000 nest sites on 5 continents. So it's super exciting for us. We haven't done that much communications or promotions. It's a full volunteer group, so it's pretty astounding what we've accomplished so far. We are working with the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN, to reassess the red list status of Apis mellifera in Europe, which we're very proud of. And amongst other activities, including this Symposia series, we're applying for grants to fund our study. We're striving to expand into Africa, the Caribbean, Middle East, and beyond. I believe a couple of people from Kenya are going to be here with us today. So if you have any potential leads for us for sponsors and or funders and or opportunities for us to establish a regional cell where you're located, please get in touch. And if you'd like to know more about Honeybee Watch, there's an 8-minute presentation on our resources page of the website. And it's the first video. And Rodrigo, if you could just drop, there you go. That's the link to see our resources page. And there you will find all of the videos that we've uploaded from past symposia and other events, as well as articles, videos, publications, reference points, etc., about free-living honeybees and related topics. So we are expanding that page, and it's super interesting if you want to do a deep dive. And that brings us to today's symposium, which is titled Tree Cavities, Homes and Biomes for Bees and Other Organisms. And as I intimated, it's a departure from prior symposia, with the star not being honeybees, but rather tree cavities. And in case that's not self-evident, these are natural hollows in trees by which a diverse array of species is often involved in both their formation as well as in their habitation. And there have been found birds, invertebrates, small mammals, fungi, and more, and we will hear some of those stories today. From our three experts who come from various fields and have explored the topic of tree cavities from different perspectives. And because they are coming together, we're going to hopefully give a more holistic view into this fascinating biome and this natural bee habitat. We're going to move on to our next speaker, Barbara Zajdel. She comes from Poland and works at the Warsaw University for Life Sciences. And she is joined by a colleague, Agatha, who is going to be helping to potentially translate between English and Polish in case Basia slips back into her mother tongue. So thank you for joining us, Agatha. Back to Basia. She's a biologist and wild bee researcher specializing in mason bees and bumblebees, who got curious about the diverse fauna cohabitating spaces with honeybees. We met back in February of this year in a remote forest in Poland, where a group of tree beekeepers had convened to share research and further the group's desire to become more visible internationally. And at that meeting, she gave a similar presentation to today's, which for me was just mind-blowing. And until that point, I had never really seen a paper or heard a talk that so narrowly focused on the other critters, animals, that were living within log hives. So I'm excited to see what she has to present today. And then for just some context, for our third speaker, we were considering maybe somebody who is dealing with cavity-dwelling birds. But when I heard Basha speak, it was like, no, birds are great, but this presentation is really going to resonate with the Honeybee Watch community. I invited her to speak. She turned down our invitation again and again because she was not comfortable with her English. But finally, I assured her that we would speak slowly and clearly, and she accepted, and we are absolutely grateful that she has stepped out of her comfort zone and is joining us today. So without further ado, Basha, would you like to unmute yourself? And Rigo, I don't know why, but I'm seeing
Thank
Kevin
you.
as my speaker. Oh, there we go. So Barbara, I'm going to give you 14 minutes as well. I will give you a 1-minute notice.
Okay,
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for invitation on this symposium. I'm very happy I can share our results because I work with my team, with Cornelia, Jacob, and Agata. And today I would like present our results about inhabitants of tree beehives and logs. And maybe very short history of tree beekeeping in Poland, because tree beekeeping for Polish people is not only beekeeping, but it is our history, tradition, and culture. Tree beekeeping in Poland was established around the 14th century. Tree beekeepers were wealthy and a privileged social group. And tree beekeeping disappeared from Polish forests at the end of the 19th century because the value of the wood exceeded the value of beehives and swarms. And tree beekeeping returned to our forests in 27 when a group of forests went to Bashkiria in Russia, and they learned how make the tree beehives using traditional tools, prepare traditional tools. And year by year, the interest of tree beekeeping increased, and more tree beehives are created in Poland. And it's a very important issue for Polish people because tree beekeeping inscribed in 2020 on the representative list on intangible cultural heritage of humanity. And bee nests is very attractive for various organisms, and the organisms can live with bee nests and have different effects of the colony. And the presence of these organisms depend of hygiene. And every good beekeeper follow hygiene rules like hygiene of inspection in apiary, hygiene of hive and combs, hygiene of beekeeping equipment, hygiene of obtaining bee products and storage, and prevention of the moon common disease. And if we follow the hygiene rules in the apiary, we prevent pests from entering and staying in the hives. That's why some pests can become a marginal problem. And hygiene in tree beehive is different because we don't use any impregnated wood, no disinfectants and medication, especially fumigation and polymer stripes for varroa. That's why we allow the accompanying fauna to develop. And a few years ago, we conducted research about accompanying fauna of Osmia rufa nests, and we found many articles about this topic. For example, article of Krunic from Serbia, and we use the same following categories like from this article, like parasites, predators, nest destroyers, kleptobionts, and accidental nest residents. And we started our research in 2018, and we have a break for a COVID pandemic, and we come back and continue our researches from 2022, and we still continue this research. And what was our research material? We collected everything what we found inside of tree beehives and the near surrounding. For example, dead bees from the bottom or dust from the bottom, because we found very various stage of decomposition of organic matter inside. We collected spider webs and cocoons from the walls, a piece of combs, covering with branches and leaves, because we use the covering as a protection for woodpecker and different animals. And we recorded every species in tree beehive surrounding. And we try identificate the species, the organism to species, but sometimes we have problem that we identificate to families and orders. Excuse me. And first group first category of the organism which we found inside the tree beehives are of course Varroa destructor. It's a very huge problem, very most dangerous bee disease, and the mites cause huge losses in the bee population and transmit many diseases. But we found in 1/3 of nests, we didn't find any varroa mites. We still continue our researches, but I think it's quite good results, because we don't know any apiary without varroa mites. The second organism is a fly, Phora incrassata. We found very old sources about this organism, this fly, only in American Bee Journal, very, very old sources from 1808. And we know that the Phora incrassata could go inside the hive and lay eggs in the brood. And we found this fly in only one tree beehive. And the next categories is predators. We found two species of wasps, European hornets and camel wasps. And the wasps we found in 14% nests. And we found spiders like rabbit hutch spider and European garden spider. And we found spiders in 17% of the nests. The following categories is nest destroyers. We found the greater wax moth and the lesser wax moth, because the larvae are very similar. That's why we know that we found the two species in 81% of the nests. And we found traces of the martens presence in only one tree beehives. The next group is kleptobionts, like ants. We found 4 species of ants: Lasius bruneus, Lasius filiginous, Camponotus phallax, and Formica fusca. And we found ants in 41% of nests. And the remaining part of the accompanying fauna were saprovageous organisms and the other organisms that did not negatively affect the bee colony. And we named the group accidental residents. And first group of accidental residents were beetles. We found beetles with 30% of the nests, and we found the following family like Tenebronidae, Dermestidae, Latrididae, and Hysteridae. The Hysteridae, one species, Dendrophilus punctatus, which is a commensal in birds' nests and ants' hill. And we found bowflies from family Califloridae. We found flies in 22% of nests. And the second organism which we found inside the tree beehives and logs are ectobius species as cockroaches. Phaeomia tremula, the night butterfly, sorry. We found the caterpillars which feed probably leaves of the covering. We found leafhoppers and my favorite organism, Bristy millipede, Polyxeonus lagurus, which feed dead coniferous trees, algae, and linen. And we found a few different millipedes from family Julus. The second organism is a springtails from Calembola, which feed dead and decaying biological material. And Oribatidae, it's quite similar to Varroa, but positive organism because this is a saprophagus. And pseudoscorpions, very, very good organisms for honeybee health, because we can find many articles about chalifers which can eat varroa mites, because pseudoscorpions are predators. And we are very happy that when we found this organism inside the tree hives. And we find few different animals like rodentia. You see on the picture, we find probably forest mouse nests, and bats. Pipistrellus pygmaeus is the smallest species of bats live in Poland, and red squirrel nests. And we try to compare our results, and it is one of the comparison. It's important information. The chart bars show the number of recorded observation, not the total number of organisms. We compare nests with and without bees, and you see that we found more different organisms with tree beehives with bees than without bees. And the second comparison is we compare fauna in tree beehives and a casual hive in apiary. And you see that we found more and more different organisms in tree beehives than casual hives in apiary. And very short summary, we have many questions after the research. For example, can some pests be beneficial? And they could be a cleaning up team, because, for example, laser wax, eating wax and making room for building new combs for new swarm, and larvae of laser wax and springtails could be food for different species of birds. So maybe the accompanying fauna is very positive for different organisms, not only for bees. And in Poland, we know that tree beekeeping is very debatable issue, because for example, we have two ways in tree beekeeping. One group maintaining colonies in a traditional way, but to obtain honey. And we have group of tree beekeepers to allowing the bees of the wild bees to be wild and monitoring them without too much intervention. And the second problem, disease transmission, because I know beekeepers and I know tree beekeepers, and beekeepers concerned about the lack of control over the health of bees in the tree beehives and the possible transmission of disease. But the tree beekeepers concerned about the transmission of disease from apiary to bees in tree beehives. And I think we have more time, more different observation researches, and we need to consider, for example, destiny of bee colonies, because in Poland, forest is very good of food base for honeybees and different pollinators. The second issue is giving medicine or not, and feeding the colonies or not, because sometimes colonies are very, very weak. And we know the wintering could be very, very difficult for the colonies. And the third, cleaning up the tree beehives after wintering or not, and allow the accompanying fauna to develop. And the last, honeybee and other pollinators, because we can find many articles about that honeybees compete with different pollinators, and the scientists have very different point of view. And it is only my point of view, because I know what's the situation is in the Polish forests, and we know that the honeybee return to the forest and show how poor the forest ecosystem is in the mellifero plants. And we started write different projects aimed at increasing the food base for bees. For example, planting melliferous plant, sowing flower meadows, plant prunus, the plum, different fruit plants, and the food base for bees are better and better. And we, in this way, we can help not only honeybees, but the different pollinators too. So thank you for your attention, and Thank you.
Wow, Basha. Well, first of all, your English is perfect.
Oh,
We understood
I
everything.
don't agree.
So,
Mhm.
great presentation. Again, mind blown. A couple of things that you said. 1/3 of your samples did not show Varroa. That's kind of
Yeah.
shocking. I would love to explore that more. Um, the transmission of diseases, you said from like the beekeepers saying that maybe they're coming from the trees, and then the tree beekeepers saying it's coming from the apiaries. This is really one of the foundational issues that Honeybee Watch hopes to address is, are bees that are free living healthy, and what is their disease loads, and are they transmitting? So interesting that that's something that you rose in your conversation. And then last comment, you were talking about, do honeybees compete with other species for resources? And this is actually the topic of our next discussion in September. So very prescient on your behalf. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And